If you've ever watched a movie and thought, why does this footage look so much nicer than mine? Even if the film itself was shot digitally, it seems as if there's some kind of extra texture that's going on. Well, you're not alone. The so-called film look is one of the most talked about and misunderstood parts of colour grading. And in this video, which is going to be part of a bigger series, I want to show you a really solid and repeatable way of achieving a cinematic look inside of DaVinci Resolve. In this video in particular though, we're going to be looking at using the Emulation film looks that are built right inside of DaVinci Resolve. No third-party plugins, no expensive LUT packs, just DaVinci Resolve Studio set up properly and used in the right way. This is a workflow that I personally use on actual projects, especially with Sony S-Log footage, Blackmagic footage, Red, even some ARRI footage as well. And the key thing here is that we're building a color managed pipeline that actually makes sense, rather than just slapping a LUT on and hoping for the best. So let's start right at the beginning. Part 1, the project color management setup. Before we even touch any clips, this is the most important step of all. And it's the step that a lot of people either skip or misunderstand. We want to make sure that our timeline, our grading, and our export are all speaking the same language. So if I jump into project settings, here is exactly what I'm using. Color science is DaVinci YRGB. Timeline color space is DaVinci wide gamut / intermediate. And then output color space is Rec 709 scene. And then if we go to our timeline settings, you'll see that these match exactly. Color science DaVinci YRGB, DaVinci Y gamut intermediate, and Rec 709 scene. This is really important. If these don't match, you can end up with an image that looks fine in the viewer, but then shifts slightly on export, or even worse, looks different on different displays. Finally, in the export settings, I'm tagging these file clips as color space tag Rec 709 and gamma tag Rec 709A. That Rec 709A gamma is particularly important if you're exporting for Mac OS or online platforms, as it helps to avoid the dreaded gamma shift when uploading to YouTube or viewing in QuickTime. Once this is set up, we're working in a wide gamut, high precision environment, but delivering a clean Rec 709 image at the end. Part 2, getting the clip ready. Now let's bring a clip onto the timeline. In this case, I'm working with Blackmagic Design footage, shot in film Gen 5, which is very flat and flexible, but obviously not something you want to leave untransformed. So the first thing we're going to do is build a simple logical node tree. On the first few nodes, you can do your usual balance work, exposure, white balance, contrast, and I'll be covering all of that in a future video. I'm going to keep things really simple in this node tree because it's just not what we're focusing on now, but the important part comes towards the end of the chain. One of the last nodes in my tree is going to be a color space transform, and this is where we take our camera data and put it into a standard viewing space. Here are the exact color space transform settings. So the input color space is going to be Blackmagic Design wide gamut Gen 4/5, input gamma Blackmagic Design film Gen 5, output color space Rec 709, and then output gamma 2.4. What this does is it properly interprets the Blackmagic sensor data and converts it to a clean Rec 709 image. Not a LUT, not a look, just a technically correct transform. At this point, the image should look normal, but perhaps still a little bit digital and video-like, which is exactly where we want to be. Part 3, converting to film log, which is going to be Cineon. Now, this is where things get interesting. After that color space transform node, we're going to add another color space transform, and this one isn't for the camera, it's for the film emulation. So on a new node after the Rec 709 transform, we're going to set the color space transform like this. So the input color space is going to be Rec 709, the input gamma is going to be gamma 2.4, the output color space is going to be Rec 709, and then the output gamma is going to be Cineon Film Log. What we're doing here is basically converting our image into a log encoded film space, something that the Film Look LUTs are specifically designed to work with. This is the step that most people miss. The film LUTs that are inside of DaVinci Resolve don't want and aren't designed to work with raw log footage, and they don't want a heavily graded image either. Those film LUTs need something that behaves a lot like scanned film, and that Cineon Film Log gamma does exactly that. Part 4, applying the film LUTs. Now we're going to add another node, and this is where the fun starts. Right click on the node, go to Film Looks, and from here you can choose one of the built-in stocks. The Kodak D55 is probably one of the most popular film looks that people use. One that I've found works quite nicely on Blackmagic footage is one of the Fuji film LUTs. It tends to be a little cooler, but really nice and clean, and I love what it does to the cooler tones in the image. What's really important to understand here is that these aren't just creative LUTs. DaVinci Resolve's film LUTs are based on real film response curves, modelling things like highlight roll-off, colour separation, and the density of the image, not just contrast and saturation. They're designed to sit after a proper transform and a proper grade and not replace it. Part 5, the compound node intensity and control. Once the LUT is applied, here's a really useful trick. Highlight both the Cineon color space transform node and the Film Look LUT node. Right click and choose create compound node. You've effectively wrapped your entire film emulation stage into a single block. If you want to dial it back, which you almost always do, you can simply reduce the key output gain on that compound node. That gives you a much more natural blend than trying to lower the LUT opacity elsewhere, and keeps everything predictable and reversible. You'd never want to lower the opacity on the LUT because remember, you've got a separate color space transform there with the Cineon Film Log, so you would just be revealing the Cineon Film Log LUT underneath, and you don't want to do that. So we're putting it all in one block so that we can reduce the intensity of that film look all in one go. Part 6, black point and final tweaks. After the film look is applied, there are some things that you want to do after that. One of those being the black point. A lot of people will tell you to not touch anything after the film LUT, and generally speaking that is good advice. But the black point is one of those things that's almost impossible to judge before the film look is in place. Film stocks handle things like shadows very differently to how digital handles shadows. And until you see how the LUT compresses the image, you won't really know where that LUT is going to shift your blacks. So small, careful adjustments at the end here are perfectly fine. And that, in a nutshell, is a clean, professional way to get a technically accurate film emulation look inside of DaVinci Resolve, using the tools that you already have. In future videos, we'll go a little bit deeper, comparing different film stocks, matching multiple cameras, and even building custom film pipelines. If you found this video useful, then please consider dropping it a like. It helps to get this video in front of more eyes. Leave a comment if you've got any questions. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with all of my future uploads. For now, that's a wrap, but as always, I'll see you in the next one.